This is Gotham TV Podcast, episode 114, about Gotham, A Dark Knight, Season 4, episode 12, Pieces of a Broken Mirror.
I'm David Mazouz, and you're listening to Gotham TV Podcast.
This is Drew Powell, and you're listening to Gotham TV Podcast.
This is Robin Lord Taylor, and you are listening to Gotham TV Podcast.
Welcome back, fellow Gothamites. Welcome back, fellow detectives. This is Pieces of a Broken Mirror, episode 12 of Gotham Season 4, and you are listening to Gotham TV Podcast, episode 114. We are back from the mid-season break with a interesting collection of characters and scenes, which I thought was absolutely fascinating, but we'll delve into that a bit later when we cover our 5 case notes. I am one of your hosts, John.
Yes, happy spring. I'm your other host, Derek. Welcome back. Yeah, spring premiere. I'm so excited to be back with Gotham. It really has felt like this is almost, we're getting 2 full seasons within 1 year because of how long the break has been. We covered our last episode of Gotham back in December and haven't been covering an episode since. We did have a wonderful time with our friends from Legends of Gotham doing a recap of the first half of the season earlier on this week. Hopefully you got to listen to that. And we also got a lovely interview with the fantastic David Mazouz, who plays Bruce Wayne on Gotham, also this week. So we've had an awesome Gotham week leading up to the premiere.
Yes, absolutely. Although it doesn't feel like spring. At -7 outside, yes, a lot of cold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very cold where we are. But that's all right. This episode has definitely warmed my heart.
Yes, it has me also. And hopefully it will warm the cockles of your hearts as well, listeners. And please remember, share the love. As always, subscribe, rate us, leave a review on any good or evil podcast catcher that you listen to Gotham TV Podcast on. You can head on over to Apple Podcasts, you can head on over to Google Play, or you can head on over to gothamtvpodcast.com and go to the subscribe section to subscribe and listen to everything connected to the final 13 episodes of Gotham for Season 4.
Yeah, absolutely. And as John mentioned, share the love, share the podcast. Why not? Share it with your friends over on any of your social media channels. A great way to get new listeners from us is for our listeners to share out our episodes to their friends. So.
Absolutely. And of course, the Line of the Week competition will be back for this second half of Season 4. Share any aspect of Gotham that stood out to you. It may be the line of the week, it may be a character of the week, it may be a scene of the week, or a piece of dialogue that you just thought was absolutely fantastic.
We've gotten loads of great lines from the first half of the season. There's some good ones in this episode too. We are recording very early on this episode, as we always do for our premiere. We record as soon after the episode comes out. Normally our episodes come out on Sunday, and we record on Saturday each week as the episodes come out, so you can send in your feedback to us before we record. This time we won't have any feedback for this particular episode, but that's not the usual case. We do love to hear from our listeners. You can just email us at feedback@gothamtvpodcast.com.
Absolutely. But I think with that, we should get into our spoiler-filled review.
Oh, yes.
Derek, what are some of the episode details for this episode of Gotham?
Yeah, this episode was directed by Hanelle M. Culpepper. She has directed previous episodes of Gotham. She did Season 3, Episode 10, Time Bomb. And since we talked about her that time, she's directed 2 more episodes of The Flash, which is also in the DC universe, obviously. And she directed an episode of the excellent Star Trek Discovery. Loved that season. It's really been covering up the gap that we've had since the last half of Gotham was on.
Definitely.
And the episode was written by Danny Cannon, one of our fearless leaders of the show. If you don't know about Danny Cannon, he is the guy that effectively created the show with Bruno Heller right back at the start of Season 1, and he usually gets the season premieres and the mid-season episodes either to direct or write them. This time he is in the writing capacity and has brought in almost every single character who's not in prison, basically. Anybody that's not in Arkham or not on the run appears in this episode, so he's the right person to bring them all together, really, isn't he?
Yes, and certainly there was one character that had a very botanical flavour.
Mm-hmm. And John, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis for the episode?
Sure. Jim Gordon is called to a scene when the Toymaker is hired to assassinate a doctor in Gotham. Leslie Tompkins tries to rebuild the Narrows with the help of Edward Nygma, and Alfred Pennyworth's new life becomes complicated when he meets a waitress in the Narrows. Ivy Pepper shows Selena Kyle her new persona. Short and sweet this week. Short and sweet.
Yeah, that's just because we're covering it so quickly afterwards.
Absolutely.
You didn't have enough time to write your synopsis because I was pushing you to record.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's get on to our first case note. The way we cover our episodes is obviously that we pick out 5 case notes to talk about, hopefully cover the full episode, and some additional notes just to kind of cover off everything that we got. Our first moment, kind of one of my favourite things that was going on in this episode. Alfred is the hero of the Narrows. Didn't expect that to happen from some of the preview footage. We thought that he kind of hit hard times, was living on the streets, but I really like this story. I think as I was watching it, I was going, this would make a great spin-off series for Gotham. Send off Alfred Pennyworth to solve problems like the old Incredible Hulk series.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was really good that Alfred got his hero moment here. He has been treated really bad by Bruce Wayne. He's been kicked out of Wayne Manor. We were kind of thinking he was, sleeping rough in a cardboard box next to a oil drum on fire, trying to keep him warm. But we do see here that, he's kind of settled in, found somewhere in the Narrows, it would seem, but that he's really embedding himself into this into this society.
Yeah.
But not necessarily without any conflict. We do have the bullies of the Narrow that see that his shoes are probably worth more than their house, or something to that effect, car. But he steps up, and following that battle with the bullies, he races in, backdraft-esque, to save people from a burning building that has just been bombed by the Toymaker. Yes, I mean, we very much have here a highly concentrated collection of superheroes, main characters, and villains from Gotham here. I think there is Alfred, Jim, Ivy Pepper, the Toymaker, the Doctor, or Leslie Tompkins, as she's now known, all within probably 100 meters squared of where Alfred is being effectively taken to task by a bunch of bullies. But he dispatches with them with his consummate ease.
Absolutely. I got a vibe of the Sherlock Holmes movie, the one with Robert Downey Jr., when he was looking at these bullies coming up going, this won't be any problem for me. You're 3 pints in, effectively kind of pointing out all the points he can take this guy out, and takes him out instantly. It's really good. I love the fact that he becomes a hero for saving the people in the bomb attacks, and then they have a moment with those bullies again, apologizing to him, saying he's a good guy, and they shake hands and have a drink over the hero moment for Alfred. But it's really nice to see a hero moment for Alfred. He's spent so much time in Wayne Manor. He spent so much time trying to guide Bruce in these ways. He kind of needs a moment of happiness. And he gets a little bit of that as well with Tiffany. I thought there was definitely going to be a relationship starting up until you see the bruises on her face from her boyfriend, Gil, who's been beating her. And that's another great moment for Alfred to be another hero.
Yeah, unfortunately, though, yes, he is not in time to save Tiffany. I felt really sorry for Alfred here, but he actually says himself there was a connection there when Jim is really kind of accusing him of being the person that killed her.
Yeah.
As if Alfred would do that, and Jim should know better, really.
Yeah, but he is going on the guidance of Detective Harper, who's found Alfred's signet ring at the scene of the crime, and the marks on the face of Tiffany, the beaten girlfriend, who has got the signet ring imprinted on her forehead. I didn't think that was possible, but it is kind of guiding them towards Alfred. But Alfred does a move that he either learnt from Bruce or learnt from Ra's al Ghul, and will become a signature move for the future Batman, and just disappears into the ether.
Yeah, I mean, to effectively track Gil down, because Alfred has been set up using that signet ring. And it's really good because it also leads to a great reunion of both Alfred and Harvey Bullock in a bar that Alfred has tracked Gil Rooney to. So that was really, really good to see. Harvey coming in to save Alfred from a beating. I mean, to be honest, Alfred really does manage to deal with these 3 or 4 guys really well, but ultimately he's overpowered and Gil is looking to slit his throat. And then Harvey comes racing in with his baseball bat, and ultimately Alfred is cleared and Gil is taken off by the GCPD into custody. But yeah, as I say, I think it's a real shame that Alfred couldn't have Tiffany as maybe some kind of long-standing love interest, or even just that he has this connection then with the Narrows that, you know, when he's taken back by Bruce Wayne, when he becomes the butler, the valet for Bruce Wayne again, that he has this connection with a completely different side of Gotham, you know, from super dirty rich to just the super dirty in the Narrows. I think that would have been really nice to have maintained that connection, and it's a shame that I think that has been cut short by the fact that Tiffany was taken out by her horrendous boyfriend or husband, Gil Rooney. But maybe he has that connection with Harvey's bar, assuming Harvey stays in that bar. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, we'll talk a bit more about Harvey later on. I do agree with you, though. It would have been nice to have a little extra connection for Alfred in the city of Gotham. He does have, obviously, a huge amount going on with Bruce, and it does feel like Bruce kicks him out and he has nowhere to go and no one to be around. So it's not really made very clear exactly where Alfred's living. He does kind of make this comment to Jim, as you say, that he is living somewhere in the Narrows, but it feels like he actually is living on the street. So we don't see him go home to his own place or pull out a cardboard box and sleep in it. We don't see anything like that. So it's just inferred that Alfred has hit hard times. So let's see what happens next week. We might see where he's actually living. Hopefully he's got himself a place. Hopefully he's been saving some of the wages that he's been paid by the Waynes. I know he's in the Narrows, but it does seem like he's really hit hard times.
Yeah, or maybe he's just not a saver.
Maybe not.
But I'm not entirely sure where he would be spending his money, because certainly for the first maybe 2 seasons, and in the main in general anyway, he spent a lot of time in Wayne Manor.
Yeah.
And I didn't see a sweetie shop or anything where he could spend his cash. But he's in the Narrows. That's exactly where Dr. Leslie Tompkins is at the moment as well. And she is going by the moniker The Doc, you know. So really good. But we have here for our second case note, The Toymaker, Gunpowder, Treason and Plot. Yeah, we see the Doc really giving a rousing speech to the people of the Narrows, really trying to get them to look after themselves rather than any infighting that they've been doing, and really to try and better themselves. But it is rudely interrupted by an exploding toy plane. We see a shadowy figure at the back of the crowd, just fiddling with a toy plane, and then the light comes on and we realize that it's a bomb. Yes,
very cool. I really like the speeches that Leslie gives in this episode. They're really, really good, but it felt like there was a moment where she was saying to the people in Narrows, stop fighting with each other. Why are you treading on each other to get better in life? And it almost felt like she was going to say, why don't you go after the 1% in the city? That Bane speech, effectively, from Dark Knight Rises. It really felt like Leslie was about to say to them all, why are you fighting with each other? You have no money. Why don't you go after the people that have money in this city? So she didn't get there. She resisted. So she was saying, why don't we shore up and why don't we work together? But it did feel like a moment that we were going to see that. Yes, the Toymaker in this episode. Toymaker is a character from the cartoon series, from the Batman animated series. I remember seeing some of those when I was younger. There has also been a Toymaker in the comic books, but I think the cartoon series is probably the one that has more of him in it.
Yeah, I think that really cemented the Toymaker within the Gotham universe. And of course, it is very, very Pinocchio in that sense. You know, we get to the crank toys and models where it's his workshop. It really does feel like there is this elderly man there working over assembling, fixing, building toys. And yeah, it has a vibe of Pinocchio and Geppetto's workshop where he's creating all these toys, but he's also an assassin on the side, as they would be in Gotham. And so these toys maybe are less fluffy than their outward appearance would tend to be, or they are certainly more harmful than they would appear to be. We see a Nutcracker with a machine gun attacking Jim and Lucius as they pay a visit to the Crank Toys and Models store, as they follow up on the investigation into the bombing in the Narrows. So we really see, it's just so good. We have the seek and destroy robot. Mm-hmm. So, the toy maker is providing toys that both are explosive and dangerous. There's certainly no safety legislation gone to these toys.
Absolutely. And as Ed says, that is so Gotham. There's no other city in all of the DC universe where this kind of stuff would happen. It's hilarious. Absolutely great. Really enjoyed these scenes with the toy maker. Are you saying that his son's actually Pinocchio? Do you think his son was once made out of wood?
Could be. he may very well have been, but yes. He has a son.
Yeah, I don't know why. I just get a really creepy vibe from his son in this episode. I know he's just trying to save his father, doesn't know what's going on, apparently, with all of these things that have been built and him sitting around. What if he set off one of the traps one day, by mistake? But yeah, it does feel a little bit creepy, but no, it turns out that his son is completely innocent and just wants to save his father.
Yeah, which is really sort of explicit scene of him protecting his father there, because after the seek and destroy robot and the machine gun Nutcracker, then the toy maker tries to make his escape out the back. Jim and Lucius try and cut him off by going around the front, and of course Jim has his gun raised, is about to shoot. Jim, shoot first, ask questions later, and his son comes in and pointedly really says, no, don't shoot him. He's my father. Mm-hmm. And so he does get away. And finally, when Jim does meet up with his father outside of Leslie Tompkins' new base, then he shoots him, which is a shame because, he went straight for the kill shot rather than the wound and maim shot. Say,
go for the knees, man.
Go for the leg, for the arm, but unfortunately, he didn't go for the headshot. So, I suppose that's something. But yeah, he kind of went for the body. I did get the impression that he was still alive because he called it in, but I would suspect that Papa Toymaker is dead.
Yeah.
And son Toymaker will rise from his dead, bloody body.
Yes, have a feeling this could be another Scarecrow situation, that we may be getting another Toymaker in future. But we've just skipped over one of the most important parts, really, of this. The reason why Toymaker is there is because the Riddler has hired him, unbeknownst to Enigma. So, yes, we do have the quite significant break again between these two characters, between Enigma and Riddler. He doesn't realise that he's the one that's hired the Toymaker to kill Leslie Tompkins. Nice moment here.
Yeah, it was.
That realisation and seeing this mirror image of himself laughing at the fact that Ed doesn't know what's going on again.
Yeah, I did call this. I did think that, when it ended up that he was there, the toy maker, you were thinking he's not made another attempt on Leslie Tompkins' life there in that moment. And Ed goes after him, chases after him. And yes, we get the reveal that actually Ed's other half, the Riddler, has hired him to kill Leslie because Leslie is holding him back because, again, Enigma is really now becoming loyal, maybe a great friendship with Leslie, is working with her, but the Riddler wants to step over seemingly the dead body of Leslie Tompkins to rise further back into the mainstream villainous world of Gotham. So that was really, really good. But yeah, unfortunately, then that is kept all secret because Toymaker is shot by Jimmy Boy.
Yeah, I know. I'd love the fact that earlier on in the episode, Barbara had called out the fact that Jim's very good at shooting first, ask questions later. I think he really needs to go back to the gun range and learn to shoot non-lethal shots.
Absolutely. But, unlike some other people who have died, I suspect that Papa Toymaker will probably remain dead. But I think on to our case note 3. One of those members of Gotham who died and came back, Grundy, Butch Gilzean, he is back in both senses of the word. Not only did he come back from death, but now from Grundy, Butch is back. Tabitha's incessant beating around the head with a lead pipe really did its magic. And he returns to see Tabitha to tell her that of everything that he's remembering, the one thing he knows is that he still loves her. But, yeah, really nice. But Tabitha doesn't answer. And I'm like, why? You went to beat the love back into him with the lead pipe. So maybe she just doesn't like pasty white men with really bad blonde bowl head hair.
And swamp water for blood, yeah. Possibly. I think Tabitha realizes that she owed Butch something. Remember that herself and Barbara got into a huge fight about the fact that she killed Butch, and now they're back on side together. They're back working together again. So maybe that's part of it. But yeah, Tabby is not willing to say that she loves Butch. It felt like one of those moments where they gave you a nice bit of hopefulness that Butch Gilzean is back in the body of Grundy, as I was hoping on when we talked about our recap for season 4. I talked about the fact that I'd love to see Butch in the body of Grundy. But here we have that moment where your heart just gets ripped out of your chest as well, because he's finally realised who he is and goes back to the woman he loves and tells her he loves him. And, oh no, she doesn't answer.
Absolutely. Tabitha did not turn the lamp light back on. Yes.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really nice little aspect to that scene. You know, not only did she not answer, but when the silence is maybe becoming a little long, and Butch Gilzean in his new look really feels that he needs to be hidden in the shadows. He turns off the lamp on the table, and I was thinking that she would turn it back on, but she didn't, and she didn't reply. So Grundy walks off. Yeah, I mean, Phantom of the Opera-esque really here,
yeah.
I think.
I was getting shades of kind of the Frankenstein's monster as well. The
Yeah,
stuff
absolutely.
from Penny Dreadful, where that character who has died and come back can't speak to his former wife. That kind of stuff. I was getting some vibes of that. It'd be interesting to see how Grundy's going to play it. Like, it was instantly noticeable that he had Butch Gilzean's voice. What we see early on in the episode is Ed trying to treat him like Grundy again, going, I'll point him at the person I want to be beaten up or killed, and he'll do it, right, Grundy? And he gets no response, just a nod of the head. If he'd spoken at that point, Ed would have known this is not Grundy anymore. This is Butch Gilzean. So it's quite interesting. Let's see how that one plays out as well. I'm wondering how soon is Grundy going to realise what Ed did to him?
Yeah, absolutely. I really I'm glad that the Butch voice is back here. I'm glad that Grundy has got brains in effect here, that he's more articulate, because I just think that's a really nice way of doing it. And I think, whatever about highlighting the fact that, yes, Grundy maybe isn't the most intelligent or is quite simple, and keeping that simple speech. It's nice that he's slightly more articulate, because I think that adds more to this character now, even if it was Grundy who was more articulate. I just think that's a really good move. Hopefully it will stick. Hopefully there's not a reversal back to, me Grundy, you Tabby, kind of thing. But so I'm really pleased about this development in the Grundy character. And it's just a shame that maybe they're not coming together, Tabitha and Butch again.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether Butch is going to stick around for too much longer, unfortunately. We do have to have our actual Grundy appear, and Grundy doesn't talk like Butch Gilzean. So he does make mention, as he's talking to Tabby, that he still has a bit of a foggy brain, but he does remember some things. So potentially this is a temporary situation, but it is nice to see Butch resolve some of those situations. I wonder, will he be going after Babs next to resolve that situation of a bullet to the head that led him here? We'll see in the future. Let's get on to case note 4. Another new old character. But even newer, I suppose. We have Peyton List coming in as the new improved Ivy Pepper. And she has some dealings with the Sirens Bar to go. First off, can I just quickly say, that advert on TV for the Sirens Bar is one of the funniest things that Gotham has put on screen. I saw the actual video of it earlier on in the week. It wasn't part of the episode, completely separately to it. And I have to say, Cameron Beacondova's performance in that advert, where she's basically saying, you'll really enjoy yourself down here, just works really well.
It's so good, isn't it? It's just really like, I do not want to be in front of this camera to do this advert for the Sirens Bar. You've got Barbara really up for it. Tabitha is kind of just doing her moves, and then again later on she says, "Never put me in front of a camera again. I am not doing that." So really, really good.
Women drink free, men don't.
Yeah, absolutely. Really good. But yes, we see Ivy Pepper, and actually the one thing she remembers when she sees that advert is that she doesn't like any of those, including Selena, which was kind of interesting because they saw her as a stooge of Penguin and wouldn't let her join the Sirens. But we see her rise out of her sort of embryonic state after taking on all those magic potions and pills from the Chinese medicine man.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, 3 burglars, one of them gets caught in her grip and is infected with everything that is coursing through her veins. And really, really cool when they find the body and they cut him open, that there's all these plants. There's the ivy coming out of his carcass.
Yes.
I thought that was really great effect. Really, really like that. And again, when finally Ivy meets up with Selena, that we see her turning green as Ivy has kind of cut her, infecting her with this poison that runs through her veins. But she thankfully has found an antidote, so returns Selena back to her normal self with the promise that the two of them make Gotham their bitch.
Yes.
Really cool.
Yes, very interesting, isn't it? This is a much more traditional version of Poison Ivy than we've seen in the last 2 actresses that portrayed the character. We're seeing her with special superpowers, effectively supervillain powers, to some, I suppose. But yeah, that moment of cutting open the body and seeing the ivy come out, that's almost Hannibal-like in its gruesomeness as the ivy pours out of this poor dead guy. But it is really interesting to see this new version of the character. What's she going to do in the city of Gotham? I do like how playful she is, and I like how quickly people realize who she is. Bruce kind of going, redheads are crazy, as she walks past, and that's the moment that Selena realizes, redheads, she seems to know me, that's Ivy. I like how quickly they get that all together and how quickly it is. But again, we have this other part, the pheromones coming out of Ivy while she's in the bar, in the Siren's bar, attract 2 men to walk over to her and start punching each other over her. Like that's a proper traditional Ivy Pepper or Poison Ivy. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, that whole scene is where Selena tracks Ivy back to the apartment that she has broken into and acquired from someone seemingly going away on holiday.
Yeah.
So, yes, I wouldn't like to return to crazy plant lady when I came back from holiday.
No. But we also get another scene that we see in this segment of the episode, I suppose, as Ivy walks down the street and sees plants on the ground, looking like they're being choked by the smog of the city of Gotham. And we see that moment, just like the former Ivies, where she is so protective of these plants, saying everything's killing them around. So there may be a little bit more of a craziness to this Ivy Pepper, this Poison Ivy, than we've seen in the past. She seems to be much more angry and much more aggressive than we've seen from the other versions of the character. But interested to see this added in as a little bit of a scene.
Yeah, well, I mean, she says to Selena as well, no one is going to underestimate me ever again. She always felt like the underdog, she was never taken seriously. She was always kind of ignored. And yes, no one will ignore her again with these kind of powers. And of course, as we said, she does want to team up with Selena. She recognizes that Selena looked after her all the way through from young Ivy up till now, that Selena has always watched out for her. So she is wanting to bring this classic team up from the comics of Selena Kyle and Poison Ivy. It's not always been a smooth ride for this pairing and this relationship in Gotham, but it is a great one, and I can't wait to see what they do.
And technically, Ivy's younger than Selena, isn't she? She kind of was under her wing. She was the younger orphan or street urchin when we met her first in season 1. So it is very interesting seeing this kind of pairing where you've now got a much older looking Ivy with these powers and her working with Selena. I still wonder what she meant when she saw them on the television and went, I hate all three of them, and then teams up with Selena. I think that might come back later on in the season. I'm not too sure whether this team up is going to be mutually beneficial for both of these characters. I'm wondering whether it's more, I want to use you to get what I want for Poison Ivy.
Yeah, and of course, just on a quick side here, we see, obviously, Bruce is still passing away, but Selena finds out that Bruce has fired Alfred.
That's right, yeah.
As well, so, yeah.
Yeah, and she's very, very dismissive of it, knowing this is not the real Bruce, knowing that this is the Bruce Wayne that is completely running away with himself. He's lost all the things that she knows he should be doing. And she calls him out so quickly on it. It's really interesting. It does feel like he's been partying now for about 2 or 3 months. It feels like a very different Bruce Wayne. A really cool one, just knowing that he's got all these girls around him. He's doing that side of party Bruce and has been doing it for a couple of months. That kind of helps to build that character towards the Bruce Wayne that we know later on that's coming anyway. So at least he's had this kind of life as well. He set himself up as this socialite now, willing to buy drinks for anybody who comes into his club. I do love that moment where he's saying to Selena, do you want some champagne? They don't even card here, and even if they do, hey, it's Gotham. And Selena goes, what do you mean they don't card here? This is my place. I can throw you out, kind of thing. Just like that little moment as they spar against each other.
Absolutely. And of course, from the interview that we did with David Mazouz as well, we do know that Gotham TV Podcast would be welcome into his club to have lashings and lashings of booze.
Of alcohol, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Hooray. It's perfect for the two of us.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Hopefully we can find a club. Let's go on to our final note for the episode. We did mention Harvey Bullock and his return, which I thought was awesome. I love that he comes in with a baseball bat behind the 3 guys who are trying to take down Alfred Pennyworth, but he basically says the reason why he's delayed is because he was in the John, right? That's such a what a Harvey Bullock return. He's back working behind a bar. I couldn't tell because the last time we saw him in the bar, it was day drinking Jim who uncovered him working in that bar. I couldn't tell whether it was the same bar or not. It looked like the same set, just the lighting looked like the red and green lighting that seems to typify nighttime in Gotham. It did feel like the same bar, so I'm wondering if he's gone back to his former girlfriend who was running the bar. Maybe, but he's certainly enjoying it because it involves 2 of his favorite things: drinking and ignoring people. Real good Harvey Bullock line there. Yeah. But yeah, it's great to see him connect back with Alfred there in saving him from a good old beating and a slashed throat. But Jim also has come to the bar following the arrest of Gil Rooney in the bar. And of course, Jim was trying to find Harvey earlier in the episode where he went to the salubrious establishment where Harvey had found some nighttime entertainment, I suppose. Yeah, a bit of a special request from Harvey, Tallulah and a pig, apparently, which indicated immediately to Jim that he was on the right trail of Harvey Bullock. Absolutely. But Jim has come to the bar and is there to try and coax Harvey Bullock back to the GCPD with his detective badge. But he is absolutely rebuked by Harvey, and it's really interesting that they're maintaining this friction and tension between these 2 characters. I really like it, actually, because it could quite easily have just gone immediately back to yes, I'll come back, and things sort of are papered over or smoothed over rather rapidly. But here we have a continuation of this friction between the 2, and I think that's really great for just the drama between these 2 characters. Yeah, it feels like it's time now for them to have this kind of longer lasting effect on their relationship. It feels like it makes sense that Harvey would be saying, I'm not coming back. But I do love that he points out, because of how well he knows Jim, that's the reason why he's not going back. He's saying to him, everything looks great on the outside. You've got all of the GCPD on your side. They're all working for you. You didn't even need me last time to catch the last criminal that you went after. But I'm not coming back because I can see in your face there is something that you want to tell me. There's something you want to share to get it off your chest. I'm not going to do that. Effectively saying that the last time I was around, you were banging a Falcone while she used you to take down the Penguin. That's not going to be me anymore. I'm not going to stand idly by while you do these things to yourself, Jim, which I just think is a really good moment for Harvey. We talked about it last season at the end of the first half of the season, that this breakup between Harvey and Jim was right. Jim was in the right for the first time for quite a long time in the way he won the GCPD back to himself, but there was still that niggling thing in the background, which was Sophia Falcone sort of puppeteering him. And Harvey could see that.
Absolutely, yeah. And I really like how he puts that to Jim, is that, I'm no longer going to be your priest, yes. Jim. Otherwise it will just be confession time, morning, noon, and night, Yeah. And I think that's really, really interesting. Yeah, it links back to sort of the Dark Knight, Jim Gordon as well, that idea of plunging your hands into the filth. It was a necessity. Is this the change in Jim Gordon, that he has to plunge his hands into the filth of Gotham so that he can, get things done, and outwardly it looks fine, but he has to use, nefarious means, in a sense.
Yeah, and as we also talked about on our recap show for the first half of the season with the Legends of Gotham, their relationship is not set in stone. It's not set that they're going to come back together and be best friends again. That's not something that we've really seen much in the comic books. We know they know each other. We know that Harvey works for Commissioner Jim Gordon in the future, but they're not best friends in the comic book. So it's not necessarily that we're going to see the two of them back right in each other's pocket, drinking together all the time. So I like this. I like that they have this path for Harvey that is taking a different turn. And as we hoped before, hopefully we'll see Harvey and Alfred interacting more, because I think every time the two of them are on screen together, Donald Logue and Sean Pertwee just work so well together.
Oh, absolutely.
So hopefully we'll see a bit more of them. That's our top 5 case notes, John.
Yes, it is. Any notes, Derek?
I just have one which I thought was quite interesting because it wasn't really called out as to what it was for. It's where Ivy is sitting in the luxurious dress in the gorgeous apartment, eating ice cream on the couch, watching TV. And what we see on TV is that there's a news story going on about a Wayne Enterprises gas leak on TV. Very interesting that we see this, because that's not in the episode itself. There's so much going on in the city of Gotham that we didn't even see this gas explosion or this gas leak that's going on. We were focused over in the Narrows. So this news story absolutely has to mean something, right? What do you think it means, John?
Well, it's really interesting because before she breaks and enters into that apartment as well, she's walking along the street and she's seeing all the gas fumes and exhaust fumes coming from the houses and the cars along that street. And there are a bunch of plants out the front, and they are all withered, they are all dying, and she says, "They're killing you." And then we see all this gas leak and explosions and fires from a Wayne Enterprises facility. And, there's talk of however many hectares of land that have been burnt. And you just wonder, is this where she will go after Wayne Enterprises to some extent, because she's blaming them for the murder of these plants? So certainly we could see her bump into Bruce Wayne. And maybe that's part of the reason for that setup as well in Bruce's nightclub as well. That's her first step to getting close to Bruce Wayne.
Interesting. Yeah, really, really interesting. It'll be kind of cool to see somebody up against Bruce Wayne as well. So somebody that's seeing Bruce Wayne as a villain. That'll be quite interesting. And she's going to become a villain possibly for Wayne Enterprises. So hopefully we'll see a bit more Wayne Enterprises this season as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, cool. That was my only note. I just wanted to have a quick chat about that because I think it's something that's being set up for the other half of the season. Let's see how that one goes. John, Gotham moment of the week.
It has to be Ivy emerging and killing the guy with her new powers. It was such a really good intro for the character. And again, to see him cut open on the autopsy table and having a lovely flower arrangement coming out of his torso was really, really good. So that was my Gotham moment of the week.
There really could have been so many, but we mentioned a lot of them there. Grundy coming back, the introduction of Harvey Bullock. That Ivy moment is definitely one of my favourite moments of the week. Absolutely. I kind of think Alfred facing off against the villains in the Narrows, the bullies in the Narrows, and then becoming the hero of the area. I think those scenes all over were great. They were really, really good. But yeah, I'd probably stand with you. Best moment of the week is probably Ivy killing the guy with her new powers.
Yeah, and of course, for the character of the week, I certainly think it is the toy maker and his assassinating toys. Really, fun character here. He's probably just a once-off in terms of at least Papa toy maker, but evil son, distraught, upset at the death of his dad, I suspect may take up the mantle here. He looked weird enough that he would do that.
Yes. And just to point out, if this is your first time listening to Gotham TV podcast, our character of the week is usually a moment where we highlight someone that may not have gotten center stage, because there's no doubt really in this episode the character of the week is Alfred. Alfred Pennyworth has never had this much of an episode, or has only ever had this much of an episode once or twice, but he's usually been protecting Bruce. This is all about Alfred in this episode. This whole episode really does center on him. And as I was watching it, I was going, this could be a spin-off for Alfred. We can see him living in a different country, completely divorced from Gotham, doing this type of stuff where he's helping people around him. You can kind of see that, and it's great to see that for his character. So just in case you're wondering why we didn't choose one of the major characters, it's because we talk about those characters all the time. So I agree with you, John. The Toymaker is quite a cool character to bring in, quite an interesting character to bring in, because it's so Gotham.
Yes, so Gotham.
Finally, John, how do you rate this episode?
I give this a solid 4 machine gunning nutcrackers out of 5. I thought this really was a good return for the second half of this season. And as you say, I like the fact that, it brought us back to kind of, those smaller characters, like Alfred, and bringing Harvey back as well. That, they aren't the Jim Gordons, they aren't the Bruce Waynes, they aren't the Penguins, and really did a nice storyline, bringing Alfred and Harvey back together, and really having that sort of tense moment between Harvey and Jim at the end. It was great finally to see the rebirth of Ivy Pepper as well. She kind of had sniffed those potions in the first half of this season, and then kind of had not shown up again. So you were kind of, what is happening? So I'm glad they brought her in early here and really established her motives and brought her then back to Selina Kyle. And I love the idea of these two teaming up. And I'm so glad that Grundy is back to being Butch, but within Grundy's frame. I really want to see how this Phantom of the Opera story kind of pans out, really. The disfigured love interest for Tabitha, I think it'd be really, really good. So yeah, this was a fantastic opening episode for me. And again, yes, the toy maker and his creepily weird son, and how this villain will be integrated into Gotham maybe moving forward. Certainly that we are kind of sure that villains are certainly going to come together here to cause chaos once again in Gotham. So yeah, 4 machine gunning nutcrackers out of 5.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this episode as well, I must say, having this kind of intro to the city. It's one of those things when you watch other shows, like we've been watching many other shows, like we do with on Defenders TV podcast, we're watching Punisher. This really feels like a city when you've got like these 10, 20 characters that are available for you to use. You intertwine them all into stories and have them working around each other, not necessarily meeting each other, and then other characters that haven't met each other in ages meeting up and having a storyline together. This is what makes Gotham. It makes it that show where you're able to tune in and see 10 different storylines playing out over the course of an episode.
Definitely.
It's always fun.
And of course, how the toy maker was linked in with, Leslie Tompkins and the split personality of Enigma, the Riddler, and just how that played out. It was also nice to see Jim and Leslie finally lock eyes and meet face to face as well.
You kind of forget they haven't seen each other since he killed her fiance.
Yeah, absolutely.
He thinks he never thought that she'd come back to the city. He thought that she was gone. So yeah, it's quite cool to see them there. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Gotham TV Podcast. It is great to be back with Gotham. We'll be back every week as the rest of the episodes come out for the season.
Definitely. As always, please send on your thoughts, comments, or discussion points about any episode of Gotham as we move towards the completion of this second half of season 4. You can contact us through our website at feedback@gothamtvpodcast.com. You can also go and leave a voicemail, 90 seconds, that can be played through the airwaves of Gotham TV Podcast. Just head on over to gothamtvpodcast.com and click the tab on the right-hand side of the webpage and leave your voicemail there. And of course, join our Facebook group over at facebook.com/groups/Gotham TV Podcast. And for those Twitter fans out there, we tweet live each episode of Gotham over on our Twitter handle at Gotham TV Podcast.
Absolutely. We always try and tweet live. May not get there every week.
That's true. That's true.
Yes, but we don't have any feedback for this episode because we're recording a little bit early, but normally we record on Saturdays, so pop in your thoughts about any of the episodes as we go through for the rest of the season, and you'll be in the chance to win a great prize, which did get pushed out till June. Unfortunately, our prize was going to be the Artifacts penguin statue, which was supposed to be released in January, and we'd be able to announce to you that we had one on order, but unfortunately it has been pushed out till June, probably because there's been so much request for it. It's a gorgeous statue.
Yes.
But we will come back on that as soon as we know for definite when that's going to be released.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember to listen and subscribe to our podcast over at gothamtvpodcast.com. Go to the subscribe section and choose the podcast catcher of your choice. Yes, we will be back next week with Gotham, A Dark Knight Season 4 for episode 13. A Beautiful Darkness, which sounds very intriguing. Yes,
we know we're going to have Jerome in that episode with the Penguin, so it's going to be very interesting.
It's going to be very dark, I think.
Yeah, and if you want any more podcasting from us, we will be starting out our coverage of Jessica Jones Season 2, the 6th Marvel Netflix TV series, over on DefendersTVPodcast.com. We'll be starting that out on the 8th of March as the episodes start getting released. So we do episode by episode coverage of those Marvel Netflix shows. So come over and join us on there if you haven't listened to it before.
Absolutely. As always, thank you so much for listening to us. It's so Gotham on Gotham TV Podcast.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, we'll speak with you again next time. Bye.
Thanks for being a Butch supporter. Butch loves you, baby.